Hello, this is Janelle Alberton, and this is my second video blog. I get to have video and conversation with folks all over the world. And today's guest is Scot Pekarek, who I found on YouTube when I started learning about fenbendazole, the animal medicine for deworming them. Has been being used increasingly for humans as a cancer treatment. I've got some links, other links in my December page that you can see a video interview with Joe Tippins, the man who helped to light the flame that has spread out throughout the world. But my guest today is Scot Pekarek, who is actually taking fenbendazole. And one reason why I found him is that he has a prolific collection of uploaded videos. He just pops them on, does live, even if he jumps on for 1 or 2 minutes just to check in and say hello, or longer videos that are more instructional and educational, informational. He's doing a great service to humanity, and I want to help him get the message out. So Scot, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I'm so honored to meet you, and I'm just such a big fan of yours.
Well, thanks, Chanel. That kind of introduction. Met on YouTube. It sounds like the beginning of a great romance, right? At least you didn't say Tinder or,
Right.
Grindr. I don't even know. I missed the whole online dating scene. I was about, I think, a decade too late for it. So anyway, thanks for having me. What's that?
You're not unlucky.
Oh, I didn't miss anything?
No, seems like you've done really well for yourself, all on your own. You're happily married. You've got a great supportive wife and 2 beautiful little 6-year-old twin boys. So you're a real estate agent in St. Paul. Is that right?
Yep, we're in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, greater metropolitan area. That's, I think, about 5 million people. And St. Paul has a younger sibling complex with Minneapolis. Minneapolis generally gets all the accolades and the fame. But yeah, St. Paul's it's a wonderful city, and it's amazing how different the 2 cities have in terms of their personalities and stuff. Like they're across the Mississippi River from each other, but really quite different experiences when you go to both. So, but yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited. As you are aware, I've made no secret about what is happening for me here with the brain tumor. And I don't know if you want me to start from the beginning or start going into a dissertation on fenbendazole, or
let's start with a brief bio for folks who don't know who you are at all. When did you first what was your first symptoms that sent you to the doctor? Just talk a little bit about that process of your diagnosis and how were you presented with options, and what did you decide to do at that point?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. I tend to I'm romanced by the English language, so I tend to go along a lot of times. But I was in Laguna Beach vacationing with family in August of 2019, and ironically, I just got done with a 5+ mile run. Did a really, I thought, it was a heartfelt video on Facebook Live about my life and how grateful I was to be back in Laguna. I had some good experiences there in 2019. And I get back to the hotel that we were staying at. My wife and twin boys, Nico and Bowden, were there. And my brother was also there. He had stayed over. We were at a conference for 4 days. I was with 2 of my brothers and my brother-in-law. And he decided to stay a night at the hotel with my family, which was great. So I got in the pool, my kids were there playing, my brother was there, then I got in the hot tub after the pool, chasing a kid, got out of the hot tub and just was kind of overcome with, this just a little bit of dizziness, like almost like a vertigo sensation. And went and sat down, my wife had come down a short time later, and I made the foolish decision to eat some French fries and some coconut, chase it with coconut water, which, when you got a, upset stomach, I couldn't think of a worse thing to do, but that was me. And, after that, I ended up vomiting poolside. And that's when the hotel staff came. They said, "Hey, do you want us to call paramedics? You want to go to the doctor?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, finally, fine, but let me get to the room. And I don't want my kids to see me getting hauled out of here on a stretcher, because they said that's the way they're going to take you. So went to the room, took me to the hospital. And keep in mind, this conference we were at, the whole time they're like, "Hey, it was a real estate conference. They're like, real estate professionals, you got to do video. You got to do video. You got to do video. So I was doing video like all week. So while I'm getting put into the ambulance, while I'm getting the whatever the things on my chest or shaving, I'm telling my brother, take pictures, take video. I'm like, we got to get this documented. Like this programming had worked for me so well during the at this time. I thought, well, maybe I'm just I got some virus or something. Maybe it was a bad oat milk latte that I'd had, which was really bad. I think to this day, I think it was a bad oat milk latte that got me sick. But go to the hospital. They start doing usually they give you some antivert and send you on your way. They decided to do a CT scan. They find a mass. They're like, okay, we're going to send you for an MRI. That means you got to go to Mission Viejo. And they do MRI with contrast. And 6 hours later, doctors sitting next to me telling me, "Hey, you've got a brain tumor. We think it's a glioblastoma. You may be in trouble here." I'm like, well, my initial reaction was, that's fine. This was like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Remember, this whole odyssey started about noon, 11 o'clock. So it was about 10, 12 hours. I was like, whatever. I'm like, how about this? How about, can I get something to eat and drink? And I'm going to go to bed and we'll deal with this tomorrow. Kind of nonchalant, but I was like, I'm not going to freak out here. I don't know what we're dealing with. The neurosurgeon hadn't shown up. This was a, general practitioner. And, not to be disrespectful, but I was like, I'm going to wait. And she's like, "Well, you got to take this seriously." I'm like, "Well, I'm taking it seriously, but here's the deal. I don't see a scenario where me freaking out right now is going to help." And if you
to that kind of response from somebody when she said that to them.
Yeah, usually I think people are a little more freaked out about it, and that's not to say I didn't understand the gravity of the situation, but I was mentally at that point, I was in a pretty good place. I was like, okay, I'm not sure what this means, but let's get some more information. Like, because if I'm nothing else, I'm curious, and I want to look for truth, right? And one person's opinion at a moment of crisis isn't necessarily something I'm going to just act on, right? I want to take a little more time and digest this. So meanwhile, I get back to the room, go to bed, eat a sandwich, and sleep very comfortably. And meanwhile, the doctor's talking to my wife. I didn't even know this. She's telling my wife, who's back at the hotel with our kids, and say, "Hey, could only have 3 months to live." And that was like 8 months ago. So I made it. Wow. I made it 3 months. And anyway, so my wife shows up to the hospital like freaked out. Like, I'm not trying to minimize that. But I never believed I had 3 months to live. I believe I have 50 to 60 years to live yet. To this very moment, I believe that at minimum. And so the next day, the neurosurgeon comes in. He's like, "Well, it's grade 2. You can do surgery. You can do surgery, resection, chemo, radiation, or you can just wait and monitor it." And I said, "Well, here's what I would like to do. I would like to go finish my vacation. I'm paying a lot of money for this room. The airfare wasn't cheap, and my kids are getting room service every 30 minutes right now. So I want to enjoy it with them, because I'm going to get the bill in about 30 days. I want to say I was a part of this. Staying at this very expensive hotel you guys have me put up in." So anyway, he's like, "Okay, cool, yeah." So they discharge me, go back, spend some time with the family, go back to Minnesota. We go to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. They were like, "Well, yeah, it's confirmed. It's a grade 2 glioma. The protocol, the standard of care is resection, chemo, radiation, in about that order." What I'll tell you what happened was they started talking about me coming back. So I went back to did a second MRI, and they mapped where my brain function was. And the tumor sits in my left frontal lobe. and it's right basically on top of where the speech part of my speech function, my brain's controlled. And I just asked the doctor, the neurosurgeon, who I thought was a decent and being honest, I said, is this going to take my speech? He said, well, yeah, there's a chance you can learn how to speak again. And I'm like, well, he's like, we can do the surgery with you awake and minimize the damage. I'm like, well, what are the odds here? Like, he's like, well, there's going to be an impact on your speech. And he's like, we won't be able to get all the tumor. I'm like, well, so then I'm like, okay, well, we left, and I'm like, they're asking if I wanted to schedule surgery. I'm like, I'm going to take some time and think about it. Meanwhile, my chiropractor introduces me to a guy named Cole Robinson, who does the snake diet. I had no idea what that was. Basically, he's a very passionate, some would say crude and vulgar human, but he also is saving a lot of people's lives by teaching them how to fast, teaching them how to eat better, how to control their cravings. And my chiropractor sent me his information, and I didn't watch the video. He sent me because it was a video of a woman who had basically, through fasting, ketogenic diet, had shrunk her tumor that she had. I think it was a cervical type of issue. So she, through fasting, basically the tumor went away. So I'm like, okay, after hearing that I might lose my speech, now I'm motivated. I watch this video. I get in touch with him. I start looking for other people. Thomas Seyfried, who speaks to a lot of groups about the metabolic approach to cancer. And through these different blogs and Facebook groups, somebody mentioned Joe Tippins. And Joe Tippins is, for those of you that don't know Joe was a cancer patient who went through the traditional, I call it the cancer conveyor belt, the chemo, the radiation, had lost, he was a prolific salesperson or, a corporate guy who, was of some, a very positive guy. So he has this blog called mycancerstoryrocks.blog. I read that. I started reading about his story. So apparently he was given a death sentence. His cancer had metastasized. It was all over his whole body, right? Like basically he was one walking tumor. And then a friend of his or acquaintance, I will say, who went to the University of Oklahoma, phones him and says, hey, Joe, I got this story for you. Okay. And he's like, you're not going to, do with it what you will. But there is this scientist who worked for Merck, and she was doing some tests on laboratory mice. And one of the tests was growing tumors in this one group of mice. Well, apparently laboratory animals get worms, hookworms, whatever, some kind of worms. So they give them fenbendazole. Okay, it's this fenbendazole is this drug. It's a anti-parasitic. There's a fancy word that I can't think of right now for it. There's human versions of it, whatever. They make it for fish, goats, mice, dogs, cats, whatever. So they give the mice this Panacor C, which is a brand of fenbendazole. And the worms go away on the mice, but you notice the tumors also went away on this group of mice. So here's where it gets interesting. Tumors go away, like, wow, what the heck's going on, right? The scientist herself ends up getting a grade 4, I think, a glioblastoma, brain tumor, several months later. So she says, well, screw it. I'm going to take this fenbendazole too. Because the thing is, it had been tested. There had been a testing or clinical trial. I'm not sure if that's the exact testing that I went through. I believe it was clinical trials. That they were testing it for use on animals, but they found that it was safe in humans. So she's like, I'm going to try it. It worked on the mice. Maybe it'll work on me. So she starts taking it. Her tumor goes away. So that's the story that the vet that Joe knew from Oklahoma is telling Joe. And he's like, you know what? What do I have to lose? Woof, woof. I mean, I guess I'm going to try the canine dewormer as well. So
he was already told to call hospice. Like his doctors were like, we got no bullets left in the chamber. We're done.
So exhausted all options.
Yeah.
You are now a dead man walking, basically. And he's like, well, I don't have anything to lose at this point. So he starts taking it. He takes it with vitamin E, curcumin, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
some CBD oil, I think was his mixture, the fenbendazole. And then, he advises, and as do I, like to increase bioavailability, like more absorption in the body, you should take it with some food, some fat, like some oils, avocado, like I love avocado with olive oil and some lemon and some cayenne pepper. So it's fantastic. And Joe, I think he's even updated his.
Also, Scott,
Yeah,
I've been told that black pepper helps with the better absorption for the turmeric or the
yeah,
curcumin.
yep, absolutely. It helps with in the liver. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I put black pepper on everything, even my ice cream. So yeah, it's just I love black pepper. I love ice cream. I mean, how can you go wrong? Right? Sweet and savory, but it's fantastic. And like Joe goes through this, and within, I don't know, 6, 9, 12 months, tumor free. And he had lots of tumors. And he didn't tell his doctor what he was doing until at the end. He said, well, because they couldn't figure out what was going on. They're like,
Right.
what are you doing? He's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just healthy living, I did my push-ups this morning.